Testing. There you go. I don't have a, there we go. Will the meeting please come to order? Will all members of the council as well as the public please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation this evening will be offered by Reverend Lindsay Crinks from Open Table Nashville, the guest of Councilman Jim Schulman.
Thank you. I know many of you, but for those who I don't know, I'm an interfaith street chaplain and homeless advocate. I know it's been a few weeks since y'all gathered, so I want to begin by opening us with a moment of mindfulness for all those affected by Hurricane Harvey. Our people in Nashville know what it's like when the waters rise, and our people know what it's like to be displaced from their homes. I also want to begin with a moment of mindfulness for all those who have passed since the last meeting that y'all had. We're mindful of those who died when the waters rose. We're mindful of all those who have wasted away on our streets in the shadows of progress. We're mindful of our prophets like Reverend Bill Barnes, who spent his life fighting for affordable housing and racial justice. So with these people and struggles in mind, if you'll join me in prayer. God of the disinherited, God of the laborer, God of all people. Many of us in this room will go home tonight to sleep safely in our beds with full bellies, while thousands of our neighbors are huddled beneath bridges, hidden in alleys, missions, and jails, unsure of what tomorrow will bring. I pray that you'd remind us of all those who suffer and that they're a part of our community, our family, our body. Remind us that our liberation is bound up with the liberation of all those who are cast out. God, as our city is being bought by the highest bidder, I pray that you would bring conviction and courage to our leaders. Help us all to set aside petty grievances and vain ambitions and work the common good of all our people. God, let us not be rich while others are destitute, nor be in good health if we do not tend the wounds of those without care. Let our city not enjoy peace until we have justice. Let us not wave the flag of unity until we have equity. Let us not boast about our diversity while the gods of white supremacy are still seated in the halls of power. God, we pray that all those who labor would find rest, and that all those who benefit from exploiting that labor would be stirred with their restlessness for justice. We pray that all those who are excluded from being full members of our community, like the recipients of DACA and so many others, would find protection and radical inclusion. We pray that those who misuse power would be held accountable, and we pray that all those who are working for justice in this room and beyond would find strength, support, and solidarity. Forgive us our trespasses, O God, and fill us with your spirit of love, a love that is as disruptive as it is healing. Teach us what it looks like, feels like, and sounds like to bring good news to the poor, release to the captives, recovery of sight to the blind, and freedom to the oppressed in Nashville. We pray these things in the name of the God of disruptive love. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of those members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for adoption of the minutes of the meeting of August 15th, 2017? Without objection, those minutes will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, is there a message from the mayor?
No, Mr. Vice Mayor. There are no messages from the mayor.
Thank you. Before we begin with our elections tonight, I just want to report to you that we will be missing Councilman Ed Kendall tonight, who is hospitalized. And I hope you will all keep him in your thoughts and prayers. And as soon as we have something more specific to report, we will do that. We now move to elections and confirmations. Oh, before I do that too, as you know, there are some new committee chairs. I won't congratulate them yet. I will thank them when their service is done. But since we do have some members whose service has ended with the last meeting, I do want to thank all of the committee chairs for their hard work over the year or 2 years that they have served the council. I think they've all done a fine job, and I appreciate their hard work. Council Lady Haywood, you have the easiest chair to follow. Certainly.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Is there a report from the Rules Committee?
Certainly, I could not fill the shoes of Councilman Jim Shulman. At this time, we have the appointments from the Agricultural Extension Board, and it's the appointment of Ms. Sylvia Garnier for a term expiring August the 1st, 2020, the reappointment of Mr. Will Nesby for a term expiring August the 1st of 2020, the appointment of Mr. Ed Smith for a term expiring August the 1st of 2020, and the reappointment of Ms. Sherry Smith for a term expiring August 1st, 2020. There was a vote on each one of them, 8 for and 0 against. I would like to move for approval.
You've heard the motion for confirmation of Ms. Sylvia Gainier, Mr. Will Nesby, Mr. Ed Smith, and Ms. Sherry Smith to the Agricultural Extension Board. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Council Lady Haywood.
Next, thank you. Next, we have the Community Corrections Advisory Board, the appointment of Mr. Eric Evans for a term expiring January the 18th of 2018. Mr. Evans will fill the unexpired term of Mr. Eric Brown, and the vote was 8 for and 0 against. And at this time, I'd like to move for approval.
You've heard the motion for confirmation of Mr. Eric Evans to the Community Corrections Advisory Board. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Council Lady Haywood.
Next, we have the Electric Power Board, the reappointment of Ms. Irma Paz Bernstein for a term expiring July the 1st of 2022. The vote was 8 for and 0 against, and I'd like to move for approval after I apologize for mispronouncing her name.
I'm sure you did fine. You've heard the motion for confirmation of Ms. Irma Paz Bernstein to the Electric Power Board. It's been properly seconded. You would like to be recorded as abstaining, and Councilman Elrod would like to be recorded as abstaining. Otherwise, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Council Lady Haywood.
Next, we have the Fire and Building Codes Appeals Board, the appointment of Mr. Cal Nielsen for a term expiring March 1st of 2021. The vote was 8 in favor of and 0 against. And at this time, I'd like to move for approval.
You've heard the motion for confirmation of Mr. Cal Nielsen to the Fire and Building Codes Appeals Board. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Council Lady Haywood.
Next, we have the Historical Commission, the reappointment of Mr. Bill Allen for a term expiring August the 10th of 2021. The appointment of Mr. Richard Courtney for a term expiring August the 1st of 2019. Mr. Courtney will fill the unexpired term of Mr. Barrett Hobbs. We also have the appointment of Ms. Lynn Holliday for a term expiring August the 10th of 2021. All were voted 8 for and 0 against, and I'd like to move at this time for approval.
Did you, I'm sorry, I was,
Okay.
Did you announce Mr. Bill McKee as well? Was he also?
He wasn't here.
Okay, thank you. All right, you've heard the motion for confirmation of Mr. Bob Allen, Mr. Richard Courtney, and Ms. Lynn Holliday to the Historical Commission. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Next, we have Social Services Commission, the appointment of Mr. Brandon Tompkins for a term expiring April the 3rd, 2020. Mr. Tompkins will fill the unexpired term of Mr. Stephen Turner, and the vote was 8 in approval and 0 against. At this time, I'd like to move for approval.
You've heard the motion for confirmation of Mr. Brandon Tompkins to the Social Services Commission. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
At this time, we have the Tourism and Convention Commission, the appointment of Ms. Brittany Chandler for a term expiring June 30th of 2020. 8 in favor of and 0 against. At this time, I'd like to move for approval.
You've heard the motion for confirmation of Ms. Brittany Chandler to the Tourism and Convention Commission. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you, Council Lady. We would like to recognize those citizens who were confirmed tonight. So if you will please stand as I call your name and remain standing until all have been introduced. To the Agricultural Extension Board, Ms. Sylvia Gagnier, Mr. Will Nesby, Mr. Ed Smith, and Ms. Sherry Smith. To the Community Corrections Advisory Board, Mr. Eric Evans. To the Electric Power Board, Ms. Irma Paz Bernstein. To the Fire and Building Codes Appeals Board, Mr. Cal Nielsen. To the Historical Commission, Mr. Bob Allen, Mr. Richard Courtney, and Ms. Lynn Holliday. To the Social Services Commission, Mr. Brandon Tompkins. And to the Tourism and Convention Commission, Ms. Brittany Chandler. Councilor Haywood, are you seeking recognition? On behalf of the entire council and the citizens of Davidson County, we'd like to thank you for your willingness to serve and look forward to your continued service to our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm announcing that we'll take. What about the election exit? Traffic and parking and planning, is that next time?
It's good to meet you. I live on Bear Hollow Road.
So I'm taking the
Pardon?
But we have 3 terms, and if we don't have nominations for them, what will we do at the next meeting? Announce it an election at the following meeting? Suspend the rules? 2 of them want to come back. Members of the council, it is now time to take nominations for the Industrial Development Board. And that election will take place at the next meeting, along with the Audit Committee and Traffic and Parking and Planning Commission. Am I taking nominations for Health and Educational Board too? Are there any nominations? Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to nominate Ginger Hauser for re-election to the Industrial Development Board.
Thank you. She currently is on the
She is currently on the board serving as chair.
Okay, just make sure that you provide the appropriate information to the clerk.
Her resume has been submitted.
Thank you. Councilman Pulley. Oops, sorry. Councilman Pulley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to nominate Christina Allen for a position on the IDB. She's currently serving, filling term of another individual who didn't fill their entire term, so I would like to nominate her to move forward again.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Davis, Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to nominate Celine Holloway for this board. We'll make sure, I believe she sent her resume in to the clerk. If not, we will correct that immediately.
That's to the IDB, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other nominations? Seeing none. Councilman McConnell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to nominate Lindsay Cox for the position, and I will make sure we get her information into the clerk as well.
To the Industrial Development
Yes.
Board. Thank you. Any further nominations? Councilor Hurt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to nominate Mr. Eddie Gray, who I think has also submitted his resume.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? All right, we'll have those elections at the following meeting. That brings us to resolutions on public hearing. RS 2017-834, Councilor Roberts, exempts the original corner pub, The Nations, located at 1105 51st Avenue, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit. Councilor Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like committee reports, please. Nope,
That's you.
that's me. Public safety voted 4 in favor, 0 against.
All right. Let's open the public hearing.
Left open.
All those in favor of RS 2017-834, please raise their hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Councilor Roberts.
I'd like to move for approval.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. RS 2017-835, Councilman Withers, exempts Rose Pepper Cantina LLC, located at 1907 Eastland Avenue, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit. Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Could I request committee reports, please?
Councilor Roberts.
Public safety voted 4 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
All those in favor of RS 2017-835, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, do those in favor wish to speak? Declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval.
The motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. One moment, please. That brings us to bills on public hearing. BL 2017-700, Councilman Scott Davis, approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission 7 and 0. Changes 0.49 acres from R6 to SB zoning for property located at 1021 Elvira Avenue to permit up to 6 residential units. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you. Committee reports. Well, all right, open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-700, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Okay, those in favor, please come forward. State your name and address, and you'll be given 3 minutes to speak.
Trip Smith, 805 Davidson Drive. We are the engineering firm selected to develop final SP plans for the project. It was unanimous Planning Commission approval with 2 conditions, and that's all we really have to say in support.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Those in opposition, please come forward to speak.
My name is Brad Sample. I live at 1023 Elvira, the lot right next to this lot. And I have to ask for forgiveness for a little bit of my ignorance, but I was under the impression that this had already been approved, and I'm with the caveat that none of the trees were removed and a couple of other things, and now going from a different zoning, it seems like they're trying to, my only guess could be that they're trying to remove all the trees, and we've already lost very, very many on this block. It's turning into kind of a hodgepodge of a bunch of small houses, which is the way that we bought into it in the beginning, and a handful of, well, more than a handful of unsold, very tall, very ugly, awful-looking, skinny things that just aren't the way the neighborhood looks or is appealing at all. And truthfully, I'm just kind of tired of the neighborhood turning into a big mishmash of no identity. It seems like the houses are outlandishly priced. I don't personally know anybody that can afford the upwards of $350,000 to $400,000 houses for granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. It's not the neighborhood that I moved into, and frankly, it seems like a zoning commission and the zoning board and zoning regulations are there to protect neighborhoods and the way they are. And I understand progress, but this seems a little bit ridiculous to me. So I am against it because I haven't actually seen what they want to do, and I don't know where to go to find that. I've looked for it, and I can't see it. So if I can see something and it looks remotely decent, I would like to know what's actually going to end up there. But until I can see what's actually going to happen, I'm not okay with it, and I live right next door to it. So that's where I stand.
Thank you, sir. We don't generally engage in a back and forth during this part of the meeting, but what I'm going to ask after we finish the public hearing, I'm going to ask Mr. Burnett, who works in the council office, to come out and explain to you where you can get the information that you're seeking. I would ask Councilman Davis, but he has 2 or 3 other bills that are coming up right in a row, so I'll ask Mr. Burnett to step out.
Okay,
thank you, sir. With that, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Davis.
I'd like to move for approval with a brief statement.
The floor is yours.
I want to thank those who came out in support and against. I want to encourage the developer to show them a plan. It's been a while since we've been discussing this, and we got it through with approval of planning. There is, if I'm not mistaken, there is an affordability component to this, and also they did agree to share the trees. So I think I would love for the developer and Ms. Burnett to share the information with my constituents. And once again, I'd like to move for approval. We have another bite of the apple to address anything on third reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Davis. There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-703, Councilman Scott Davis, approved by the Planning Commission 8-0. Changes .82 acres from CS and OR 20 to RM 20A zoning for property located at 107 and 109 Queen Avenue. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-703, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Davis.
Move for approval, please.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-759, Councilman Hastings, approved by the Planning Commission 7-0-1. Changes .47 acres from R8 to IWD zoning for property located at 2923 Brick Church Pike. Councilman Hastings.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I would like to open up the public hearing.
All those in favor of BL 2017-759, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Hastings.
I would like to close the public hearing.
It's closed.
All right.
Here we
go. Move for approval. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kind of messed up today.
No, it's all good. There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-770, Councilman Scott Davis, approved by the Planning Commission 4-3. Changes .68 acres from RS5 to RM9A zoning for property located at 1308 Montgomery Avenue. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to defer this bill indefinitely, please.
There's a motion to defer indefinitely. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Councilman. BL 2017-784, Councilman Swope, Recommended for withdrawal by the Planning Commission, 8-0. Amends the Metro Code to establish a maximum permitted height of 10 for electric fences within any zoning district where electric fences are permitted. Councilman Swope. I'm sorry, Councilman, there you go.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I would like to withdraw this bill.
That bill is withdrawn. BL 2017-796. Council Lady Allen, Councilman Kendall, approved by the Planning Commission, 8-1. Changes 0.18 acres from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 2401 Alameda Street. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Would all those in favor of BL 2017-796, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-819. Council Lady Allen, Councilman Kendall. Approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission, 7-0. Changes 0.49 acres from ORI to SP zoning for property located at 109, 111, and 29th Avenue North to permit a hotel. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor, BL 2017-819, please raise your hands. Those opposed? All right, if we could go ahead and ask you guys to line up and get ready to speak. Each person will be given 3 minutes. Please state your name and address before you get started. Those in favor first. Yeah.
Hello, Council. My name is Bart Klein, Swinney Associates, representing or working as an architect with Humphreys & Associates. Just a brief history about the project. We met with the DRC early on about the site. This has been in the working for over a year and a half to look about what to do with this site. It started out as a much taller building. We were asking for a modification to the UDO at one time. We were asking for a couple things, and after we went to the Planning Commission the first time, we actually took all the parking below ground, and now we are not asking for a modification to the UDO. So it's a straight FAR increase, so it's pretty simple in those regards. We've been working back and forth with the community about some items that they feel they're not happy with, and we're doing the best we can. We're actually in that process right now. If Mr. Kendall was here, he could tell you about that, but we're on our back and forth of kind of a give-take relationship to find the happy medium where everybody's can walk off with a smile on their face or know they did the best they can do. So just to let you know, we do have a group of owners that are very, they're not trying to just throw it up in the community space. They're meat and bounds. Placing 3 levels of structured parking below grade is a big dollar number, we all know, and a big move to make. And as of now, they're actually offering additional parking above and beyond what is required to help deal with some of the capacity issues that the neighborhood is looking at. And one thing I want to bring in mind is that we've met with a bunch of community members, and while a lot of the businesses like what's going on, the members that are not liking it are in a high-rise building behind us. So it started out first as this view item that we're blocking the view of the park, and I think Planning Commission, they said to us, well, you need to bring it down, don't ask for the modification. So we did this, and we feel that the project is good for the area. It's supported by the UDO, supported by planning. It was an 8-1 vote. So that's where we are. That's a brief history about it.
Good evening, Councilman. My name is Roshan Patel, owner of the project at 109 29th Avenue South. I live at 4156 Outer Drive. As Bart said, we've met with the opposition or the neighbors multiple times, back and forth on height, FAR, parking, a multitude of things, along with Councilman Kendall. We have, I think, given, 110% of what we could. We went down on the height. We're not asking for a height increase. We actually took a real big budgetary hit and put the parking underground, which was a huge delta for our performa. we're putting in 155 rooms in a very dense West End Vanderbilt market that desperately needs the rooms. We are building a upper mid-scale concept from Marriott called the Fairfield Inn and Suites. Very nice building for the corporate traveler who will really fill a niche of what our city needs, is hotel rooms. Our group actually is also under construction currently in Sobro at 500 Fifth Avenue in Peabody on a 233-room Hilton product, which is currently under construction. So we understand the need for hotel rooms, and we are developing these hotels with all private equity, no TIF financing or anything like that. We're not asking for any tax abatements. This is all homegrown Tennessee income that's been being reinvested back into the city and the state. Again, we have gone back and forth with the neighbors and their council, and in my opinion, we've given more than I think we should have. So I'd appreciate any consideration for what we have, what we have already done once the opposition speaks in opposition. Thank you.
Monty Humphreys, 2923 Nurek Drive, Chattanooga. I'm the owner as well as the builder. I just want to add that we are very sensitive to the neighbors' concerns. They're legitimate, every score, and we will do our best to satisfy and hopefully find accommodations for same. Thank you for your time.
Yes, my name is Laura Markham. My address is 1501 Hogan Road in Burns, Tennessee. I'm actually working with Mr. Humphreys and Mr. Patel. Mr. Patel mentioned that they are working on another hotel project here in Nashville. And whenever the developer had not wanted to get more familiar with the code's issues, Planning Commission, meeting community needs and such. Well, I've been locally working in Nashville 25 plus years through a commercial industrial company, and they hired me to help facilitate some of those needs and meet those needs, to work it through the process, someone who understood the process through building permit wise, from Planning Commission perspective, working with the owners and the community. August 9th, we held a community meeting, Council Kendall did, and everyone attended that meeting. And like Mr. Klein stated, I mean, the only thing that we're going above and beyond is the FAR. We've been willing to and explained a multitude of things from lighting, amenity usage, to all those different things. So we're asking that you support this bill and move it on to the next step. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Seeing no one else in opposition, with those in seeing no one else in support, with those in opposition, please come forward.
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council, my name is Sean Henry, 315 Dedrick Street. I represent Ms. Ray Cohane and Mark Rybaugh. They are residents of the West End Lofts 2, a condominium which is not a high-rise, despite what was just referenced. I would like to add to the record, if I may, Mr. President of the Council, a letter from Mr. Rybaugh as well as another resident within the complex. Those are 2 letters in opposition to this rezoning effort. The primary issue we have is that this is an inappropriate use of the SP. The UDO is still intact. For those of you who have UDOs within your council districts, I'm not aware that we've ever changed the base zone of property to an SP and left the UDO intact. So this UDO, which was adopted in 2004, still serves a purpose. We think it serves a purpose today, notwithstanding the fact that the base zoning here, which is ORI, base zoning is office, residential, and institutional, that's being changed to this SP. Secondly, there's no drawings attached to this bill whatsoever. If you haven't seen the bill, there's no drawings. I doubt that you would support an SP without any reference to what's being built. There's no site plan. There's no elevations. There's 3 primary standards within the 31st Avenue Long Boulevard UDO, and I'll touch on this very briefly. One is building scale and form to create a sense of place. You heard a gentleman speak a moment ago in opposition to a rezoning where he was talking about that very thing, placemaking. Number two, minimizing the intrusion of the cars. Here we've got 155 vehicle spaces, plus employee parking that would be on top of that. Thirdly, sensitive open space. This is a small half-acre piece of property. Consists of 3 residential-sized lots, very modest-sized lots. And yet there's no open space whatsoever. And so the UDO calls for sensitive open space relative to building mass, and there's 0 open space as part of this project. What this SP does is allow a building that's 42% larger than the base zoning presently allows. And it only does it for this one piece of property. Meanwhile, you've got a bunch of other properties within the UDO in the same little subdistrict that cannot take the benefit that this SP is providing for this singular piece of property. We have a very congested, tight corner at 29th Avenue and Poston. Those are 2 local streets, not collector streets, not major streets, at this corner. My client took a quick inventory of hotels located in Midtown and found 12 hotels, all of which are located on major streets. On West End, there's 9 hotels. On Broadway, there's 2. On Ellison Place, there's 1. All major streets. We're talking about the intersection of 2 local streets here. So we don't think it's justified in this case to add an extra large hotel in a location that's primarily served by residential properties and office properties. We've had a few meetings with Councilman Kendall. We appreciate his leadership. We'd prefer that he return to this body before you pass this on second reading, so we ask that you defer it tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Henry, I'd ask you the favor of handing those documents to the Sergeant at Arms.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Rafaela Cohane, and I live at 117 30th Avenue North. We bought our home counting on the UDOs, which take into consideration the quality of life of the residents as well as the aesthetics of a city. An increase to the FAR for this small piece of property on 2 small streets inside a residential neighborhood to accommodate more rooms is neither aesthetic nor beneficial. In my opinion, the Planning Commission did not even consider that. This hotel could have been built within the UDO as a 6-story hotel with a FAR of 3.0. That would still not be the choice of residents, but it would have been within the rules. There are over 13 hotels on West End from 31st Avenue to 14th Avenue South, and several more on Elliston Place. I can see from my balcony 4 hotels. The main difference is all of these hotels are on major roads, not 2 small streets inside a neighborhood. This is a powerful exception that you are about to approve, and I fear the precedent that will be set by this exception. The developer claims this hotel will not add more traffic or noise to the neighborhood than an office building would, and I can tell you that is just not true. The offices here do not cause more traffic. The people park, they go to lunch, they walk to the different restaurants in the area, Rotieres to Hog Heaven, and they leave by 5. On weekends, this neighborhood is quiet. This hotel will end that. The intersection is dangerous. On August 5th, I almost got hit by a car because a car coming up from West End on 29th Avenue, the driver blew right through the stop sign, and I was coming out of Centennial Park. If I was blind or in a wheelchair, as many of the residents of Parthenon Towers are, or a child who got away from a parent for a moment, I would have been dead. And I know the area. The hotel guests would be strangers. In April of 2016, a woman on a bicycle was hit by a car and almost killed at that very intersection. She's still in physical therapy, and the driver was never found. I promise you, if someone gets hit by a car, I will be back here with a big "I told you so," because I can see this accident happening. Nashville will not always be the it city. And when it is no longer the it city, you will have all these empty white elephants diluting the value of all our properties. You need to find a balance. We need to grow, but we need to grow wisely. Now there is no balance. People are being priced out of their homes. Ask yourself, can a police or fire personnel afford to buy a house in Nashville today? A downturn in the economy, too much crime, or too much traffic will impact tourism, not to mention the people who have to live here. A new study was just released citing Nashville as one of the cities where working-class Americans can no longer afford to comfortably live. As we creep closer and closer to the traffic troubles of LA and Atlanta, do you also want to creep closer and closer to the affordability issues of New York and San Francisco? I came here to get away from that, not to make Nashville like New York. Please consider what you're doing on this council. Please.
Thank you. Council Lady Allen. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on some information that was brought out regarding plans not being attached to the current SP, I think that may be a change that happened in this coming back to the council. Mr. Jameson, maybe can you advise me on if that creates a need to defer as requested so that we can correct that?
Correct, it does, because of the notice problems with the absence of the plan submitted.
So would you suggest deferring to the first meeting in October?
Correct.
Okay, so I would move to defer to the first meeting in October.
Right, and it will be put back on the
to keep the public hearing open,
The public
correct.
hearing will remain open, and we would defer to the first meeting in October.
Right, with the understanding that there would be, let me make sure I'm saying this right, that the plans would be attached
To the subsequent
to
agenda.
the subsequent agenda.
Is that correct?
Yes. Was that a vigorous nod from the landing table? It was, okay.
We believe that there is a plan attached to the bill for consideration. It just may not be available on the clerk's website at this time.
Okay, so we can correct that. Thank you. Oh, so I renew my motion to defer to the second meeting of October and keep the public hearing open. First meeting in October.
There's a motion to defer to the first meeting of October and keep the public hearing open. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-821, Councilman Scott Davis, approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission 8-0 and 1. Changes 0.21 acres from MULA to SP zoning for property located at 2525 Gallatin Avenue to permit up to 9 multifamily units and up to 2,000 square feet of commercial space. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of Bill 2017-821, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, do those in favor wish to speak? Declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Davis.
Move for approval, please.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-824. Council Lady Murphy, recommended for withdrawal by the Planning Commission 7-0. Applies 2.3 acres of contextual overlay district for various properties along Knob Road at the northeast corner of Meadowcrest Lane and Knob Road. Council Lady Murphy.
Move to withdraw, please.
That bill is withdrawn. BL 2017-843, Councilman Scott Davis, approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission 10-0. Changes 1.93 acres from IWD to RM20A zoning for properties located at 8818, 822, 824, and 826 Cherokee Avenue. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Open public hearing, please.
Thanks, sir. All those in favor of BL 2017-843, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Councilman Davis, did you see any on either side? I didn't see. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Davis.
Move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-844, Council Lady Allen, Councilman Kendall, approved by the Planning Commission 10-0. Changes 0.040 acres from R6 to RM20A, zoning for property located at 517 DB Todd Jr. Drive. DB Todd Jr. Boulevard. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
All those in favor, BL 2017-844, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Be careful when you wave out there. You might get called on to speak. Anybody opposed? Seeing none opposed, those in favor wish to speak. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-845, Councilman Leonardo. Approved with substitute by Planning Commission 8-0. Applied as an urban design overlay district for 112.8 acres of various properties located along Clarksville Pike, north of the intersection of West Hamilton Avenue and Clarksville Pike. Councilman Leonardo.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-845, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Leonardo.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. At this time, I'd like to move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-846, Councilman Mendez, approved by the Planning Commission 9-0. Changes 1.46 acres from AR2A to RS40 zoning for property located at 5994 Mount View Road. Councilman Mendez.
Thanks, Mr. Vice Mayor. Open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-846, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, if those in favor wish to speak, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Mendez.
Move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-847, Councilman Hastings. Approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission 10-0. Changes 0.42 acres from R10 to SP zoning for property located at 3219 Alpine Avenue to permit 2 family residential uses with a maximum of 4 units. Councilman Hastings.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would like to open the public hearing.
All those in favor of BL 2017-847, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, do those in favor wish to speak? Declare. You do? You don't? Come on up. That's what the mic's for. You're winning now.
Good afternoon. My name is Corey Jenkins. I live in the Haynes Manor community off of Whites Creek Pike. We had a community meeting with the owners, and the people were really, really impressed, first of all, that they grew up and lived in the community. I believe the owner said his grandmother owned a house in that community, and that he was really impressed that he wanted to reinvest back into that community. Also, he brought a plan that we thought was beneficial to the overall community. Too often it seems like we've been getting plans brought to us that would provide a tremendous amount of density as well as low-income housing, and it's not something that the community is really interested in. We're interested in properties that raise the value of properties in that district as well as raise the median income. And so the property that they're proposing, the development they're proposing, raises the median income as well as property values. It looks great according to the sketches and the drawings, and we were really impressed that there are good people who care about this community, not just someone coming in to try to make money. So with your consent, the community strongly supports this project and hopes that you will vote for it. Thank you.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, members of council. I'm Courtney Hale. My wife is Tia Hale. We live at 212 McDowell Drive. We're Nashville natives, and as we have watched Nashville grow, we have wanted to be a part of that growth. And we feel like this project gave us the opportunity to be actionable and intentional about the development that we wanted to see in our communities. And so this is a project that definitely has financial benefit, but it also has sentimental value. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. I'm Tiffany Capehart at 2940 Baby Ruth Lane, Unit 5 in Antioch, and I'm a realtor and urban planning consultant, and I'm helping the property owners, the Hales, move this process or project through the process. And we've met with the neighbors, we've met with Councilman Hastings, and the project, it meets the community plan with regard to the design and layout, and the neighbors have been very supportive in this process, so we appreciate your consideration of approval.
Thank you. Seeing no one else in favor? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Hastings.
Mr. President, would like to move for approval with a brief explanation.
Floor's yours.
All right, I would like to thank everyone for coming in approval of this plan. Mr. Hill, who came up to meet with you guys. His father is a business partner of mine, but also a friend. I grew up with him, so it was a really good thing. But nevertheless, I would like to move for approval of this plan.
Motion to approve, it's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-848, Councilman Bedney, approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission, 10-0. Amends 56.84 acres of a specific plan for property located at Pettis Road, unnumbered, east of Lacebark Drive to permit the use of brick, stone, cement board, cultured stone, and/or wood on 100% of the front facade and side facade of the buildings. Councilman Bedney.
Yeah, Vice Mayor, I would like to open the public hearing.
All those in favor, BL 2017-848, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, do those in favor wish to speak? Declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Bedney.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This is just a brief explanation for those that are watching on Channel 3. I know there are millions out there.
2 million, 2.3 million.
This was an oversight that happened like a glitch in writing the legislation. It ended up requiring more things that what the community had agreed that they wanted. We didn't notice that. And so when the developer started building, he came to me asking me if I will consider putting it back to what the community had agreed to. And so I said, well, we need to go talk to the community. So we met with the HOA for that subdivision that had made all the requirements that the SP reflects, and they endorsed the adjustment. So this is what you see. It's a very small adjustment that meets what the community wanted to begin with. So I'm asking for your support.
This is a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-849, Councilman Scott Davis. Disapproved as submitted, approved with substitute by the Planning Commission, 6-0. Changes 0.22 acres from RS5 to R6 zoning for property located at 900 Oneida Avenue. If we can see the slides.
This is a request to rezone from RS5 to R6 for property located at the corner of Montgomery Avenue and Oneida Avenue. Planning Commission recommendation was to disapprove as submitted and approve R6A. The current zoning of the property is RS5. The policy is T4 Urban Neighborhood Evolving. The lot is located adjacent to transit and located on a corner. Planning Commission recommended disapproval as submittal and approval of R6A, which provides for certain design standards not included in R6.
Thank you. Councilman Scott Davis.
Open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-849, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, Councilman Davis.
Move for approval, very brief explanation.
Floor is yours.
We are fine with adding the A and looking forward to bringing an approved bill to council. Thank you.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-850, Councilman Sledge, approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission, 10-0. Changes 1.73 acres from R6A to SP zoning for property located at 530, 534, and 536 Southgate Avenue to permit up to 49 multifamily units. Councilman Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I need to move to defer to this meeting in October, please.
There's a motion to defer to the first meeting in October. It's properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-851, Council Lady Dowell, approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission, 9-0-1. Amends 74.00 acres of the specific plan for a portion of properties located at Cane Ridge Road, unnumbered, between Cane Ridge Road and I-24 to amend signage standards. Council Lady Dowell.
Thank you. Open the public hearing.
All those in favor of BL 2017-851, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none, do those in favor wish to speak? Declare the public hearing closed. Councilor Dowell.
Move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-852, Councilor Roberts, referred to the Planning Commission. Expands 1,591.06 acres of the urban zoning overlay district for properties located between Cabot Drive and Briley Parkway from Knob Road north to Annex Avenue. Councilor Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Do you mind reading the map and parcel numbers for that, please?
No, I don't mind. Do you want me to start?
No.
I didn't think you wanted me to start.
I'd like to defer it for 2 meetings, please.
For those of you who don't get the joke, it's like 10 pages of gibberish she would like me to read. There's a motion to defer to the October public hearing. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-853, Councilor Allen and Councilman Kendall. Approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission 6-0. Changes 4.75 acres from R6 to SB zoning for various properties located along 23rd Avenue North, 35th Avenue North, Trevor Street, and Delaware Avenue south of Interstate 40 to permit a maximum of 123 multifamily units. Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, Councilor Murphy, are you seeking recognition before the public hearing? Okay, thank you. All those in favor of BL 2017-853, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Okay, those in favor, please come forward to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Roy Dale, Dale & Associates, 516 Heather Place, and we represent the applicant on this zone change request. We've actually worked on this for over a year. This is an iconic corner of Nashville, Davidson County. It's a very critical, very centrally located piece of property. It has good access. It's defined by the Planning Commission as a neighborhood evolving area, and they want to see walkability, mixture of units, and good walkability, and that's what this plan really does. Originally, when we presented a plan to the Planning Commission a little over a year ago, it's going to require a policy change. It was decided that that was not the best interest of the community, so a plan was revised, and the plan that you see today is the plan that was approved before the Planning Commission. Councilman Kendall requested several things to be added to the plan. That was finally approved by the Planning Commission by a vote of 6-0, and that was to provide affordable units within this development, which we've agreed to do, and better walkability. There are also some road improvements that the developer has agreed to that are not really required by the traffic study, but that we felt like were necessary in order to provide better walkability within this existing community. And so as a result of all of that, Councilman Kendall appeared before the Planning Commission and spoke in support of this project. I wish he was here today. Obviously, he's not. But he is in support of the project based upon the things that he's done in the past. This is a good plan. It's, again, approved by the Planning Commission unanimously, 6-0. It provides a lot of the critical elements that the Planning Commission and the neighbors would look at. We had several community meetings on this, a number of community meetings. We've received a lot of good input from those meetings and incorporated those into this final plan that was approved. So we would ask for you to consider that today as you vote on this, and thank you very much.
Vice Mayor, members of the council, my name is Tom White, 315 Dedrick Street, along with Roy Dale, represent the applicant in this case. First, wanted to make it clear this matter has been before the Planning Commission on a number of different occasions. Initially, it started off, as was mentioned, as a policy problem. The height was too big on the site for a policy issue, so the client decreased the height on the site. With respect to the density on the site, the density dropped significantly as well. I want to thank Councilman Kendall for the time that he spent on this bill thus far, for the number of calls that he took, the meetings that he attended. He came down to the Planning Commission, as was mentioned on the last occasion, and spoke in favor of it. The vast majority of the people that came to the Planning Commission spoke in favor of this bill. Unfortunately, when we heard about the councilman's health situation, we alerted our folks that we thought this bill was going to be deferred tonight. It was not, but we mentioned that to you. With respect to the issues that are here before the council tonight, this bill was unanimously approved 6-0 by the Planning Commission. The councilman always had two key issues. One was the environmental issue, the other was workforce housing. He satisfied himself on both of those. We actually increased at the Planning Commission the number of workforce housing unit that the councilman wanted. The critical components that were considered by the Planning Commission were, number one, the strategic location of the property. That is, it's a good infill bill. Number two, transportation modes. It's right on Charlotte, which was a big plus to the Planning Department. Totally consistent with Nashville Next. And finally, the diversity of the housing with the emphasis by Councilman Kendall on workforce housing, which we agreed to in the form that was asked for by him and by the Planning Commission staff. So we respectfully ask you approve the bill tonight. It'll come up for third reading. There can be further discussions. I'm sure the councilman will continue to be in touch with us and the people that are opposed to this. But again, the majority of the people at the Planning Commission were supportive. Thank you for your courtesies. We ask that it be approved tonight. Thank you.
Seeing no one else in support, though.
My name is Phil Brooks. My property is on Charlotte, and I've observed the buses going up and down Charlotte, and they're all empty all day long. You will be called upon to vote for a mass transit plan sometime soon. And what that mass transit plan is going to need is customers. And having a high-density location, such as proposed here, would at least bring 123 new family households to provide customers for all those empty buses or the new transit, whatever y'all are called upon to vote for. You set up a mass transit without the density, it's going to fail on its feet. Thank you.
Seeing no one else in favor, those in opposition, please come forward to speak.
Good evening, council members. My name is Brian Fondry. I'm a owner and resident at 3308 Trevor Street, Unit A, directly across the street of the planned development, literally 50 feet across from where the planning and construction will begin. I appreciate the time here today and have now listened to the counterparties, proposals as planned and the points at which they believe they've garnered support, although the majority support is interestingly not in the room tonight. Those 3 points have been affordability, walkability, and sustainability. And I think it all boils down to one word, that is cupidity, or better known as greed. The plans for this project do not account for affordability in the grand scheme of things. The proposals for affordable housing are less than 10%. There's actually no guarantee, I think, in the plans to maintain that affordability. And the average cost of a residential unit in this area right now is not affordable by general standards across the Nashville community. Walkability is almost laughable. If you walk around this area, you are quickly realizing it's not a walkable area. And so the plans for walkability in light of providing sidewalks and connections between these streets is all well and due, but it is not a walkable neighborhood and does not add to the walkability of the greater Nashville area. And the plans for sustainability are very concerning to me. As you look at this area and what it's bordered by and the plans for blasting in accordance with the volume that they look to impart in this area, it is not sustainable. As Nashville continues to grow, our interstates are going to continue to grow, and this butts up right against our mainstream interstates, I-40 and I-24, or 440 connecting to I-24, I should say. The rest of the area in this neighborhood is not a sustainable area for this type of development. The plans as originally proposed were somewhere in the order of 150 units. They significantly reduced that plan down to 123 units. That's not a real significant drop when you consider the plans as they stand today of around 35 to 40 units, and the 300% increase that they are now suggesting would add to this volume in our neighborhood. So again, I'll go back to affordability, walkability, sustainability, and the real mere matter of this is that the developer has a lot of cupidity or greed associated with their plans for this area of our community. I'm just not really excited about their proposal. So thank you.
Are you able to post something up there, or is it too late? Well, then this is my
No, yeah, we
show
can't
and
post
tell.
it still.
My name is Susan Henderson, and I live at 3300 Felicia Street, and I have since 2005. I guess I'm asking for this to be deferred to tonight, and I think I agree with everything that's been said so far, but I think safety is sort of the big issue right now. And also the relevancy of the studies that were done 2 years ago. In the last 18 months, 164 of the lots have been developed, and that equates to 350 cars. 18 months ago, it was vacant over there. I've lived there since 2005. If we add another 120 units on top of the hill, that's going to be at least another 240. 590 cars coming off this hill, and there's 2 streets, and they took away the turn lane to put in a bike lane. So are we going to take out the bike lanes to put back in a turn lane? It's what's happened in 18 months has made this plan not relevant anymore. 40 houses, which it's zoned for, will all be able to absorb the impact. 120 is ludicrous. It boggles my mind. And I've been in Nashville for about 35 years. So I agree with the lady that's not here anymore. What are we doing to our city? It's greed. And then who is going to take care of this traffic? This is dumping out on Charlotte by Climb Nashville. There's only 2 ways out. 600 cars. We can't even get in there now. So I may sound a little emotional because I am. Once this is done, it can't be changed. And then what? So I respectfully ask that we defer this, have an unbiased traffic study. Metro's going to have to pay for this. We cannot get out of here. We're not going to be able to get out of this neighborhood. Somebody's going to have to pay for it. And I can tell you the people that live there aren't going to be taking the bus like the rest of the Nashvillians. It's not going to happen. We all know that. We don't work downtown, all of us. So we work out from our homes or we work down in other parts of the suburbs. So once again, please defer an unbiased traffic study. And if you really care, take a look at this. This is insane. Absolutely insane. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Lily Lewin. I live at 3306 letter A on Trevor Street, right across from the monstrosity they want to build. And you should have gotten an email from me today that had that lovely picture in it with a couple of other pictures. If you haven't been up 33rd or 35th to the top of Sylvan Summit, which used to be called Howard's Hill. Mr. Howard lived up there. There were 4 houses up there, and he used to say he wanted to build a swimming pool because where they used to want to put their 4-story building, that's where all the water sits. I'm really worried about the water. After what happened to Harvey, where they covered everything in concrete in Houston, there's nowhere for the water to go. I live right across the street on a hill that goes like this. Today, when we had a bunch of rain, it looked like a river going down the street. I don't think they have taken any consideration on how much they're going to kill the environment on Sylvan Summit. Also, I have moved there in March of 2016. I grew up in Nashville, moved back to Nashville in 2014, took a year and a half to find a house. I moved there because I like the location and I like how peaceful it is. Well, there are a bunch of trees over there. The developer said there weren't trees. There are a lot of big trees. There are a lot of people who've lived up there for 14 years, one woman who's lived up there for 50 years, and she's putting up with a lot of stuff. The woman who lives across the street from her, Mrs. Smith, had a stroke this summer. Because of the parking on both sides of the street on Felicia, she could not get to the ambulance, couldn't get to her. She had to walk out of her house, having just had a stroke, to the ambulance. Because there's parking on both sides of all the streets going up, 33rd, 35th, and Felicia, and the alley. Traffic is already snarled. I went around and counted, my husband and I did, over 60+ units have been built since last summer when they made their first proposal, Artavan and Company. I'm not impressed with their beautiful thing that they want to build. I don't think it's iconic. A park for all of Nashville would be iconic to me, not a monstrosity where there's no green left. Their first proposal with a 7- or 8-story building was actually better because at least they left some trees and left some green space. Now it's all one house on top of one house. I could go on because I'm really adamantly opposed to this. And I haven't been heard. I haven't been heard by anyone except Kathleen Murphy. So I just wanted to make that clear. And I have gotten to know all my neighbors. I have over 30 people in my neighborhood who are opposed to the SP. They're all for the R6. They don't mind development. We don't mind good development. We mind stupid development. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Maisha Grigsby, and I live at 3322 Trevor Street, right on the corner of Trevor and 35th Avenue. I'm a homeowner and a Nashville native, and I am opposed to the rezoning of this property. One, I'm just really not for big development. I know that's the trend, but being a Nashville native, I love our city. And I grew up here, and I just see the way that it's going, and I'm really not for the big development that's going on across our entire city. I think we have more than enough of it, and we should really try to protect areas that we can when we can. I think that there is plenty of room on this property with the current R6 zoning. Changing the zoning would drastically change the dynamic in the neighborhood when it's already littered with $500,000 homes, which I would say has changed it already sufficiently. And then from there, my other biggest reason why I'm against this is safety. I live at the corner and I see the water. I mean, this weekend we had tons of rain and the water just pooled down at the bottom where they're doing construction. And I think it's really dangerous. The streets are narrow. When we have bad weather, it's already a dangerous situation. Some of my neighbors have wrecked their cars just trying to get down the hill when we have snow and ice. So I can only imagine what it would be like if we added another 500 cars to this area. And the developers have not given us a sufficient plan for how they plan to put the proper safety measures in place. There's no plan for us to have a light at 35th and Charlotte, and you can barely get out of there as it is, especially since they put an enterprise rental car there. So I can only imagine that you'll see cars backed up for hours at that intersection. So I am opposed to rezoning this to the SP, and I would like to keep it at R6. Thank you.
Surprise of the commission.
Good evening. My name is Mindy Godfrey. I live at 765 McMurray Drive. I want to call your attention to an email that you did receive today from the Richland Creek Watershed Alliance, who is opposed to this development because, as you've heard already this evening, there's a great deal of concern around the water issues at the top of Sylvan Summit, Howardsville. Loss of groundwater from the green space that currently exists is at risk, and an increase of both stormwater pollution and flood risk. The flood risk would directly impact downhill in the Richland Creek watershed, and that impacts the Nations, which is already an area prone to flooding. So that needs to be more completely addressed than current plans, which have increased the amount of concrete that will be part of this development. I also want to mention, I was at the Planning Commission meeting for the public hearing, and I'm a Vanderbilt Divinity student, and I was a little surprised at how that went down because there were some significant concerns raised about affordability, about quality of life, and people have talked about walkability tonight. People have talked about mass transit, mass transport. These are all concerns that happen in a growing city like Nashville. But what surprised me is it felt like during that public hearing at the Planning Commission that partway through it's like, well, we got a few concessions from the developers, so we really can't ask more from them than that because we want them to develop our city. Nashville's the it city. The developers are going to stay ask what you want of them. I mean, and ask on behalf of your constituents. That's why you're sitting here. We've elected you. We're asking you to make this the kind of city we want to continue to live in, that we can afford to continue to live in, and that offers the quality of life that considers our environment, that considers flood management, that considers traffic and safety. And that's incumbent upon you guys, and we can only come here and voice. So we need you to speak and vote on our behalf. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Emily Grundeland, and I live at 941 Pullen Avenue. I don't live in this neighborhood, but I have friends who do, and I'm there at least once a week for a small group meeting. Right now, it's hard enough to get out onto Charlotte coming out of this neighborhood. There are no traffic lights. There is no turn lane. I'm coming out in the evening, though, not during peak traffic times. So I'm sure more stoplights will be going in, which increases traffic or decreases traffic flow. Going up that hill scares me. I think anybody, before they approve a project like this, should be forced to drive those roads in any kind of inclement weather, whether it's rain or snow. I know multiple people who couldn't get off the hill to go to work, and we're going to add 200 plus people to that neighborhood. Also, I know just a few weeks ago, there was a truck that fell off not far from there, off of the cliff onto 40, which disrupted traffic, and it's dangerous. And they're wanting to build all of these units up there. Also, as a teacher here in Metro Nashville public schools, affordability is a big issue. And when they're saying 12 out of 123 units are going to be affordable, that doesn't really move us in the direction we need to go. So I'm just here to lend my voice to theirs. Thank you for hearing them out. I appreciate it.
Good evening. I'm Shirley Stevens. I live at 3809 Lookout Drive, which is across the street from Charlotte. It's across Charlotte from where this development is. You may ask, are you saying I'm not loud enough? Ooh, that's unusual. Usually I'm too. Let me know, raise your hand if I get too loud now. I'd like to say I am opposed to the Sky Nashville request to rezone from R6 to SP to allow building with triple the density currently allowed. The reasons I have for that are, number one, Charlotte Avenue is the primary entrance and exit from Sylvan Heights and Summit Hill. We are very limited in our access and our ability to leave in both of these neighborhoods. Charlotte Avenue is our primary gateway to get groceries, go to pharmacies for medicine, get a doctor's appointment, and other basic life services. There are no other through streets for us to use to obtain these services. So they're this street, Charlotte Avenue, is very important to us. It is already congested and clogged, and as the young man said, the buses are going down empty. It's not because there aren't people there. The people are not using the buses. Because the buses come doesn't mean somebody's going to use them. So the density is there for use of the buses. The people are not using them. Secondly, there are 5 new apartment complexes in less than a mile. Although the total number is 1,094 units, the number of cars is likely to be 2,200 or more, because many are couples and others are doubling, tripling, and quadrupling up just to be able to afford to live in the neighborhood. Okay, and that speaks only to the apartments. Think about the houses. Next door to me, there used to be one person who lived in the house. Now there's between 4 and 5. Why? That way they can afford it. And these are not people who are considered low income. They work at Vanderbilt University. And the rest of many of the others on that same block, Lookout Drive, are Vanderbilt students. So we're not talking about people who are scraping by. We're talking about people who come from middle class kind of surroundings, and being able to afford to live there is really something really different. It used to be a working class, low middle class neighborhood, and I lived there for over 40 years. So this type of increase in density and traffic congestion with no parallel infrastructure built is detrimental to the quality of life and mental health of those neighborhoods that are adversely affected. I've seen more accidents, more instances of road rage with people who are truly angry. But my last word is going to be this. It has been said, where there's a clash between developers' interests and community interests, the developers always win. I'd like to think that the council is going to show that they care about the welfare of the people in the community. Please vote no to rezoning from R6 to SP. Thank you.
Evening, my name is Rob Lewin. Mr. Vice Mayor, council members, thank you for listening to my neighbors. We have one specific request, and our request would be that we defer this until we can get a new traffic study. We have a traffic study that was done in 2015 before my house was even built. There's 100 new units that are already there with 250 new cars. And what nobody said is this is a hill shaped like a volcano. And no one walks this hill. It's cardio. You want to walk it, it's cardio. So, I mean, seriously. I know you all have had long days. I can see it in your faces. We just need a deferral. We need a new traffic study that takes into account the properties that are built, that are being built, those properties that are owned by LLCs and corporations that we know in Nashville are going to get built, and look at just what exists now. How is that going to function? We have a big problem with traffic lights right there. I don't know if you can see on the map that you got sent, but this is right after 440 as you're going south. You got that light right before you get to 440, and then a light at 37th. There's almost no way to add another light. But we're going to need a light if we're going to add 250 more cars to the 250 that are there now. The facts are, is we felt unheard in front of the Planning Commission. Almost, I was the last person to walk up there, and I didn't get this look. I got, what are you doing here? Your council person already likes it, tough luck. And I'm like, I owned there. My council person doesn't live there. The builder lives in Franklin. What? You guys got to listen. So, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope. Please, we would love to get another traffic study to see what's really going on here. As you know, Nashville's kind of changed in 2 years, and it's especially changed right there. So we have definite support from Councilwoman Kathleen Murphy, and we don't know why we haven't been listened to, but we need you all to listen, and we really appreciate, and I'd appreciate you listening to all of our neighbors. And this is defer and try to get a new traffic study, and then take the time to look at the traffic study, especially the Committee for Planning and Zoning. We really need you all to be serious, take a look at that, and if you don't think that it can handle it, then we reduce the number and we dialogue. And we would love to be in dialogue with the representatives from, I mean, they're not bad guys, they're good guys, and I know you know these guys. We want to be in conversations with them. We want to be in conversations with you. And let's bring the number down here. We're for development. We know we need it. We're just for really smart development. And this is triple what really ought to be there on the side of a volcano. So thanks for listening to us. We really appreciate it. And I'll yield the floor to Kathleen Murphy. Thank you.
Declare the public hearing closed. Before I come back to Council Lady Allen, I think it warrants a little bit of explanation tonight, just because it's unusual circumstances. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, Councilman Kendall is not here tonight. The council office asked Council Lady Allen to sign on to the bills because she remains chair of the Planning and Zoning Committee. That's why she's handling that. The Councilman Kendall will have the opportunity to review the public hearing on video before any further action is taken after tonight. Hopefully he'll be back at our next meeting. To those members of the public who this might be their first public hearing to attend, generally we don't debate bills on second reading. We're here to hear from the public. As a result, they go to our Planning and Zoning Committee on third reading and are amendable on third reading, unlike our other legislation, which is not amendable on third reading. So regardless of what we do tonight, know that there will be more consideration of this bill at a later time, both because Mr. Kendall is not here tonight and because our process works that way. Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I appreciate the explanation. I would request, since there has been a request from the concerned neighbors for a deferral, to perhaps look at the traffic issues again and perhaps to have some more dialogue with Councilmember Kendall, that I would request a one-meeting deferral.
There's a motion to defer. It's properly seconded. Councilor Lady Gilmore.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that Council Lady Allen did that. Normally, I do not get into district council members because I've been a district council member, but there has been a little bit of concern, and I think the things that she kind of highlighted, which was definitely traffic and runoff, do seem to be some concerns there. So I do stand in support, and I hate or regret that Council Member Kendall is not with us tonight, and I do hope he feels better.
Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Just a quick question to Mr. Jameson. I know we're going to defer one meeting, and while it's amendable on third, the reason I'm asking this question is I believe those who were in support said that they thought it was going to be deferred tonight, and so a number of the people who may have been in support didn't come this evening. Will they have any opportunity to speak, or are they only going to be able to speak to us via emails?
Public hearing is closed.
So we're going to be done with, okay, all right. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
No one else seeking recognition. There's a motion to defer one meeting. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-854, Councilman Scott Davis, approved by the Planning Commission 10-0. Changes 1.04 acres from RS5 to MUNA zoning for properties located at 1233, 1310, and 1314 Lishi Avenue. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-854, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, please, well, I don't have to have, please, I'll just close the public hearing. Close the public hearing. I don't know who I'd be asking please of. Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to pass on second, and instead of having the I like the third reading scheduled for October 3rd.
There is a motion to adopt on second reading and defer third reading to the first meeting in October. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-856, Councilman Leonardo. Approved by the Planning Commission 10-0. Cancels 29.24 acres of the planned unit development. I'm sorry, I missed 55. My apologies. BL 2017-855, Councilman Sledge. Approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission 10-0. Amends 0.95 acres of the specific plan district for properties located at 1267 and 1271 3rd Avenue South to permit a mixed-use development. Councilman Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Move to open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-855, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, if those in favor wish to speak, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-856, Councilman Leonardo, approved by the Planning Commission 10-0. Cancels 29.24 acres of the planned unit development overlay district for property located at 698 Putnam Drive. Councilman Leonardo.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-856, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Leonardo.
I'd like to move approval, please.
It's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-858, Council Lady Blaylock, approved by the Planning Commission 501. Changes 5.8 acres from R6 to from R6 and RM9 to RM15 zoning for property located at Whitson Street unnumbered and 400 Adamwood Drive, southeast of Adamwood Drive. Council Lady Blaylock.
Please open the public hearing.
All those in favor of BL 2007-858, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, do those in favor wish to speak? Declare the public hearing closed. Councilor Blaylock.
Thank you. I'd like to pass this on second reading. Thank you.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-859, Councilman O'Connell, amends the Metro Code pertaining to telecommunications facilities. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to move approval with a brief explanation.
Floor is yours.
This one is
public hearing.
Oh, right. Yes, thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing.
All those in favor of BL 2017-859, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Now, I'd like to move approval with a brief explanation.
Floor is yours.
This is basically just a cleanup to the more extensive telecommunications facilities bill that we passed several months ago pertaining to its lack of relevance to underground facilities. So I'd like to renew my motion to approve. Thanks.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to the consent agenda. The following resolutions are on the consent agenda. RS in 2017-822, 836 through 855, 857 and 858, and 860 and 861. Are there any other items that need to be taken off the consent agenda? See none, if you'll bear with me. RS 2017-822, Robertson Wiener, exempts Barebone Butcher located at 90650 First Avenue North from the minimum distance requirement for obtaining a beer permit. RS 2017-836, Councilman Hager. Councilman Syracuse.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm sorry, 856?
Is off.
Good deal. Thank you.
Okay. Be it RS 2017-836, Councilman Hager authorizes the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency and to enter into a pilot agreement to accept payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to a multifamily housing project located at 1205 Robinson Road. RS 2017-837 approves an interlocal agreement between Metro and the Industrial Development Board for administrative, financial, and legal services. RS 2017-838, Council Lady Vircher approves a grant from the Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors Incorporated to the Metro Office of Resilience to support the city's development of a resilience strategy and to fund a chief resilience officer for the city of Nashville. RS 2017-839, Council Lady Vircher authorizes the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the claim of Barry Mancarius against Metro government in the amount of $17,000. RS 2017-840, Council Lady Vircher and others, approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Metropolitan Police Department and Tennessee State University for extra duty police services. RS 2017-841, Council Lady Vircher, Gilmore and Roberts, approves a contract between the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services for the Metro Fire Department for emergency transportation services. RS 2017-842, Council Lady Roberts, approves an agreement between the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Metro Police Department to delineate the responsibilities of the West Tennessee Violent Crime Task Force. RS 2017-843, approves a play spaces grant from the National Recreation and Park Association to the Metro Park and Recreation Department with co-developer Conexión Americas towards the purchase and development of Casa Azafrán Park. RS 2017-844, Vircher and Roten, approves a Library Services and Technology Act grant from the Tennessee State Library and Archives to the Metro Nashville Public Library to fund the purchase of an Android mobile lab to provide free digital training for citizens of Nashville. RS 2017-845, Vercher and Gilmore approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to improve the health of those residing and or visiting Davidson County through targeted strategies to prevent and control the use of tobacco products. RS 2017-846, Vercher and Gilmore approves a grant for services between the Metro Board of Health and the Tennessee Department of Health to provide the smoking cessation program, Baby and Me Tobacco Free. RS 2017-847, Vercher and Gilmore approves an amendment to a grant from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to the Metro Board of Health to fund an ongoing program to predict air quality to achieve established ambient air standards and protect human health. RS 2017-848, Vercher and Gilmore approves an amendment to a grant from the United States Environmental Protection Agency to the Metro Board of Health for the ongoing collection of data on ambient air concentrations in Nashville. RS 2017-849, Vercher and Gilmore approves an amendment to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to implement and coordinate activities and services related to HIV/AIDS, STD, and viral hepatitis prevention, testing, diagnosis, and treatment and surveillance. RS 2017-850, O'Connell, Robertson, Gilmore approves an amendment to a contract for services between the Metro Board of Health and United Neighborhood Health Services Incorporated to provide homeless individuals with medical services at 2 or more clinics in or near downtown Nashville. RS 2017-851, Virgin Withers approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to establish career services for eligible adults, youth, and dislocated workers with barriers to employment, education, training, and support services. RS 2017-852, Vercher and Withers approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to establish programs to benefit service recipients. RS 2017-853, Rosenberg, Vercher, and Elrod approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and the Department of Public Works for the resurfacing of 5.58 miles of McCrory Lane from State Route 100 to State Route 1, Charlotte Pike. RS 2017-854, Councilman Schulman approves the election of notaries public for Davidson County. RS 2017-855, Council Lady Karen Johnson congratulates John F. Kennedy Middle School student Angelina Bautista on her acceptance into the Nashville Symphony Accelerando program. RS 2017-857, Councilman Hager recognizes the Metro School Crossing Guard Division. RS 2017-858, Henderson, Van Riesen, Roten recognizes and congratulates the Nashville Public Library, its patron staff, board members, supporters, and volunteers for being awarded Library Journal's 2017 Library of the Year. RS 2017-860, Sledge, Weather, and others supports continuation of the federal Deferred Action Childhood Arrivals Program and encourages Congress to create a permanent path to legal residency for DACA recipients. RS 2017-861, Wiener, Rosenberg, and others expresses that Nashville is opposed to and stands against racism and bigotry in all its forms, and urging all to seek unified solutions to encourage the inclusive society our founders envisioned. That is the consent agenda. Committee reports. Council Lady Vercher, Budget and Finance. There you go.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. RS 2017-836, 837, 838, 839, 840, 841, 843. Budget and Finance approved 14 for, 0 against. RS 2017-844, 845, 846, 847, 848, 849, 851, 852, 853. Budget and Finance approved 15 for, 0 against.
Thank you, Council. Council Lady Gilmore, Health, Hospital, Social Services.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I had a quick question first about Resolution 841. I was listed as a co-sponsor, but it didn't come through our committee. And I just wanted to see if Mr. Jameson can explain why it didn't come through the Health and Hospitals Committee.
I think by mere virtue of co-sponsorship, that doesn't direct the committee assignments. The clerk assigns these typically based on how these have been assigned in the past, and this has typically gone to Budget and Public Safety Committees.
Okay, I don't think I signed up to be a co-sponsor, though. That's why I was trying to see how my name ended up on the bill.
Oh, how did it sign? You didn't sign. I'm sorry, I thought you said you had signed it, but it wasn't sent to your committee.
That's probably just a typo.
Okay, I just want to be clear. 'Cause I thought it
We'll
was
check on that to confirm.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, so Resolution 2017-845, Health, Hospitals, and Social Services, recommended 7-4, 0 against. Resolution 2017-846, Health, Hospitals, and Social Services, recommended 7-4 0 against. Resolution 2017-847, Health and Hospitals and Social Services, recommended 7-4 0 against. Resolution 2017-848, Health and Hospitals and Social Services, recommended 7-4 0 against. Resolution 2017-849, 7-4 0 against. It was recommended for approval. And Resolution 2017-850, 7-4 0 against. It was recommended for approval. And then how do we handle our recommendation for the commission? It's not a number listed with it.
For the commission.
We announce that.
I'm sorry.
The appointments for the.
Oh, the clerk will pull that off your committee report.
Okay,
and
so we don't-
report it out to the MAC.
Okay, so we don't need to announce it on the floor.
You do not.
All right.
You're free to, but.
Well, I would like to,
There
because I
you
think
go.
it's a big deal.
There you go.
So for the Metro Action Commission, we, as the Health, Hospitals, and Social Services, we nominate someone from our particular committee, and they serve 2 years. Councilmember Van Rees served the first 2 years. She did a really wonderful job at that, so we want to commend her for that. And then the second one was Russ Pulley, who was nominated tonight, and he was voted in by acclamation. So we were really proud that he'll be able to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Parks, Library, and Recreation, Councilman Roten.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The Parks, Library, and Recreation Committee approved resolutions 2017, 843, 844, 845 with 7 in favor and 0 against. I'm sorry, 858.
858 instead of 845, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Withers, Personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The Personnel, Public Information, Human Relations, and Housing Committee considered Resolution 2017-851 and recommended 6-4-0 against. And our committee also considered Resolution RS 2017-852 and recommended 6 in favor, 0 against. I would also like to follow Council Lady Gilmore's lead and thank Councilmember Mary Carolyn Roberts, who has represented our committee on the Metro Action Commission for the past 2 years, and would like to thank and congratulate Councilmember Kathleen Murphy, who not only served as the past chair of this committee, but has stepped into a new role as our representative on the Metro Action Commission. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Council Lady Roberts, Public Safety, Beer, and Regulated Beverages.
Public Safety voted 4 in favor, 0 against.
On 822, 840, 841, 842, and 857?
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Councilman Elrod, Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Public Works recommend for approval Resolution 853 and 10 in favor, 0 against. I recommend deferral Resolution 859, 1 meeting.
Thank you. Council Lady Haywood, Rules, Confirmation, Public Elections.
Thank you. The Rules Committee approved resolutions 854, 8-0, 855, 8-0, 860, 8-0, and 861, 5-0 approved.
Thank you, Council Lady. And is there a motion?
I move that they all be approved.
There's a motion to approve the consent agenda. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us back to the items not on the consent agenda. RS 2017-856, Councilman Syracuse, recognized as a pioneer and legendary bluegrass player renowned as Roland White. Councilman Syracuse.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This was just filed a little too soon. This is a draft, and so I'm just going to pull it for now and then refile it once it's final. Thank you.
Let's get our, are you withdrawing it?
I am withdrawing it. Thank you.
The bill is withdrawn. RS 2017-859, Councilman Schulman, requests the Department of Public Works to prepare a listing of the 20 most congested traffic areas in Nashville and Davidson County, together with adopted or recommended interim steps to address traffic congestion in those locations. Councilman Schulman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
I believe it was Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommended one meeting deferral, 10 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Schulman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Move to defer one meeting.
There's a motion to defer one meeting. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I believe we have one late resolution. Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I need to move to suspend the rules.
There's a motion to suspend the rules. Is there objection? Seeing none, Councilor Vercher, let me read the caption. RS 2017-862, amends Resolution RS 2017-833 to clarify that the recipient of the grant for the Victim Service Coordinator position for the Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration is the Metro Police Department rather than the Office of Family Safety. Councilor Vercher.
I move for approval.
So there's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to bills on introduction and first reading. Without objection, we'll take all those matters together. Councilman Swope, we are going to pull at your request BL 2017-893. With that exception, is there any further objection to taking the remaining bills on introduction and first reading together? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? Motion in proper second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to BL 2017-893. Councilman Swope changes 15.1 acres from R40 to SR zoning for property located at Edmondson Pike, unnumbered at the northwest corner of Edmondson Pike and Cloverland Drive, to permit an assisted living facility. Councilman Swope.
Thank you, Your Honor. Due to the fact that I'm going to miss the next two council meetings due to out-of-town travel, actually out-of-country travel, and I have spent, myself and the constituents in my district have spent the better part of 2 years putting this particular bill in place, which also includes a park, senior living center. It's a community plan amendment and this bill. I would very much like to see this go through public hearing with me carrying it, which means what I'd like to do is pass this on first reading tonight and defer second reading and public hearing to the first meeting in November.
There is a motion to defer to the first meeting in November.
Pass on the first reading tonight.
Adopt on
defer
first reading.
second public hearing to the first meeting in November.
All right. Motion and proper second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I believe we have two other late filed ordinances. Councilman Sledge.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I need to ask for a suspension of the rules, please.
There's a motion to suspend the rules. Is there objection? Seeing none, this is BL 2017-901. Expands 6.07 acres of the Belmont-Hillsborough Neighborhood Conservation Overlay District to various properties along Clayton Avenue and Gale Lane. Councilman Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval with a brief explanation. I believe that this did not get filed on time due to administrative error. I think planning would back me up on that, and I would just ask for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. One more late file. Councilman Scott Davis.
I'd like to be recognized. I'm going to withdraw my request to fill out a file with a brief explanation, if I may, Vice Mayor.
Floor is yours. Briefly, because we're not on an agenda item.
Oh, I know. I thank you for the courtesy. I know we make rules for a reason, and I know that we sometimes, for the good of everybody, we need to follow them. But I feel that lots of times we make exceptions, be it personal, definitely when we want, funding to go to different departments, or definitely things are important. But I want us to remember when it comes to minorities, when they're doing development too, that contracts are online, but, I know we all think about this, and sometimes things happen that's not the fault of the applicant, and be it backlog. I just want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank planning for their hard work in trying to get this done. And I'd like to withdraw the bill, please, sir.
Okay.
Put it back on.
It'll be subject to being filed later. Bill 2017-800, we're on bills on second reading. Bill 2017-800, amends the Metro Code to modify, it's Councilman Hastings, amends the Metro Code to modify juvenile curfew hours. Councilman Hastings.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move to defer this particular bill.
This is a motion to defer. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Did we get, Councilor A. Roberts, let's get your committee report. My apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Public safety deferred for indefinitely.
Okay.
4-0 against. 4 in favor, 0 against.
It's an indefinite deferral.
By what?
One moment, please. By rule, that is deferred indefinitely, Councilman. Thank you, Council Lady. Bill 2017-835, Council Lady Murphy, Councilman Sledge, requires signs posted by building demolition permit holders for projects in excess of a certain amount to include information regarding times during which work can be performed and certain noise levels which can be emitted. Council Lady Murphy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Swope.
Codes Fairs Farmers Market voted to move forward as substituted 3-4, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilman. Council Lady Murphy.
If I could, I'd like to make a brief explanation when I move for approval.
Do you want to move your substitute?
I'll move the substitute.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You're now on your bill as substituted.
Thank you. The substitute is really a combination of a few things. One is the discussion that we had in codes last week, making sure that this applies to all permits pulled because it was going to cause confusion and things like that. And then secondly, we've got the clarification that what these signs say will be the rules that actually apply to the properties. So homeowners, where part of these rules don't apply to them, they won't have to post that sign. So if you're a homeowner doing your own work, doing your own permit, you won't have to do these signs, whereas in other places, they still will have to do that. So I appreciate working with the interested parties and the committee to get this passed. Thank you.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-860, Councilman Cooper Bedney and others, amends the Metro Code to modify the eligibility requirement for blighted property grant program and to establish an historic preservation grant program. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Council Lady Virtue.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance approved 15-4, 0 against.
Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Cooper.
Move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-861, Council Lady Van Reese, Pridemore, and others, amends the Metro Code to address procedures for the sole source procurement of public art projects, products, and services. Council Lady Van Reese.
committee reports, please.
Council Lady Vercher.
Budget and Finance to approve, 15 for, 0 against.
And with that, I request approval.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-862. Council Lady Allen, Councilman Elrod. Authorizes Elmington Capital Group, LLC, to install, construct, and maintain aerial and underground encroachments in the right-of-way located at 2111 Belcourt Avenue. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 10 in favor, 0 against.
Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval of the bill as substituted, 13 in favor, 0 against, and I move approval as substituted. Well, I move the substitute.
Motion to substitute is properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Now I'll move the bill as substituted.
There's a motion to approve as substituted, properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-863, Councilman O'Connell, Allen, and Elrod, authorizes LMVM Tower Holdings, LLC, to install, construct, and maintain underground encroachments in the right-of-way located at 818 19th Avenue South. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. We do have
Committee reports?
Yeah, I was going to say, all right, I couldn't remember if we do those first. All right, committee reports, please.
Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval as substituted, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 10 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman O'Connell.
And both of those committees, I believe, did also take up the substitute. There is a substitute on this one, so I'd like to move the substitute, please.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're on your bill as substituted.
I'd like to move approval, please.
It's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-864, Councilman O'Connell, Allen, and Elrod. Authorizes Simpson Housing, LLP, and affiliates to install, construct, and maintain underground encroachments in the right-of-way located at 111 17th Avenue South. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to request committee reports, please.
Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 10 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval.
The motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-719, Councilman Scott Davis. Changes .23 acres from R6 to SP zoning for property located at 2407 Brasher Avenue to permit an accessory detached recording studio in addition to all uses permitted by the R6 zoning district. Councilman Scott Davis. Without objection, we'll move that to the heel. Bills on third reading. BL 2017-834, Councilman Syracuse. Amends the Metro Code to extend the hours that certain restaurants are permitted to serve beer. Councilman Syracuse.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, I move approval.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. If I could ask two questions. Number one, how many restaurants does this apply to? And then has there been any input from the downtown residents if it applies to those restaurants?
Thank you. I'll defer to Councilman O'Connell. I believe he made comments last time that he did talk to a couple of neighborhood groups, but it basically follows the coattails of the state bill that allowed the two businesses basically to do this. Thank you.
Mr. Cooper, did you have anything to add to that? Okay. All right. Thank you. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Yeah, just to follow up on that, this one, I feel like there was some discussion about, whether this amounted to, an unfortunate carve out in policy. I think the residents with whom I've spoken about this are not particularly concerned about bringing beer into sync with other regulated beverages. However, I don't think any of them were also, at the same time, very few of them were jumping up and down about this being good general policy. Depending on the actions of the state, I suppose we could revisit this in terms of policy that affects Nashville. But at this time, the urban residents group that I spoke with who would be most affected do not have strong objections. Thank you.
No one else seeking recognition? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-836, Councilman Cooper, authorizes the Industrial Development Board to accept payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to Keystone Automotive Industries Incorporated. Councilman Cooper.
Committee report.
Council Lady Furcher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance to approve as amended, 15-4, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilman Cooper.
Oh, yes, I believe there's an amendment. If I would like to move the amendment.
There's a motion to amend. Did you want to have Mr. Jameson explain the amendment, or you just want to move on? It's up to you.
Well, a pleasure to hear from Mr. Jameson.
Yeah, we haven't heard much from him tonight, so he's got to earn his money. Here
It
you go.
makes two simple changes. It attaches the actual draft agreement as Exhibit A and converts the word issuer to board to reference the IDB.
Thank you.
So there's a motion to amend. It's properly seconded. All in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Motion carries. You're on the bill as amended, Councilman Cooper.
I would like to move approval for 836 as amended.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-837, Council Lady Vercher, Karen Johnson, and others authorizes the acquisition of property for the purposes of building a new Metropolitan Nashville Police Precinct. Council Lady Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, I move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-838, Council Lady Allen adopts property identification maps for the metropolitan government for real estate tax assessment purposes. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-839, O'Connell, Elrod, and Allen authorizes Third and Lee Partners, LLC, to construct and maintain underground encroachments in the right-of-way located at 615 3rd Avenue South. Councilman O'Connell. I'm sorry. There you go, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-840, Councilman Sledge, Allen, and Elrod authorizes Broadstone South Gulch LLC to install, construct, and maintain underground encroachments in the right-of-way located at 903 8th Avenue South. Councilman Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, I move for approval.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-841, Councilman Withers, Allen, and Elrod abandons an existing easement rights for property located at 804 Sylvan Street. Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Could I get committee reports, please?
You already got them.
Well, thank you. With all committee reports being in, I'd like to move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-842, Councilman Anthony Davis, Allen and Elrod abandons Lofton Avenue right-of-way. Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move approval.
This motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That takes us back to BL 2017-719, Councilman Scott Davis. Changes 0.23 acres from R6 to SP zoning for property located at 2407 Brasher Avenue to permit an accessory detached recording studio in addition to all uses permitted by the R6 zoning district. Councilman Davis.
Just one question for Mr. Jameson. I want to defer this, but do I miss the maximum number of deferrals, sir?
It's a zoning bill. I don't believe there's a maximum number.
I don't have to defer indefinitely, sir? All right. I'd like to defer for 2 meetings, please.
There's a motion to defer 2 meetings. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. A couple of reminders. Elections for Planning and Zoning and Traffic and Parking Committee at the next council meeting, as well as 2 members of the Audit Committee. And additionally, I believe there are 2 guitars back in the council chambers awaiting transports to Belfast, Northern Ireland. And they both need your signatures. So please go back and take care of that so that they can be delivered as gifts to our sister city. Thank you. Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. I'd like to point out one of those is going to Magdeburg, Germany, our German
Oh,
sister city.
I'm sorry. My bad there. One goes to Magdeburg and one goes to Belfast, Northern Ireland. My bad. That, a motion to adjourn? Properly seconded. All in favor? We are adjourned.
Hey.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.